Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ship called Horizon. He looked out the big window at the alien ship coming toward them. The alien ship was huge and strange-looking. It had smooth curves like it was grown instead of built. After 3 months of talking through space radio, this was the day humans would finally meet aliens face to face. "That ship is beautiful," said Dr. Lisa Turner. She was the ship's expert on alien life. "Those curved parts make me think they grow their ships like plants." Jake nodded and fixed his uniform one more time. Down in the docking bay, Earth's best people were waiting. They had diplomats, scientists, and cultural experts. Everything was planned perfectly. The alien ship connected to their ship without problems. Ambassador Helen Carter led the human group into the clean white halls of the alien ship. Tall, thin aliens with see-through skin and big eyes like insects met them there. The aliens moved smoothly, like dancers. "Welcome, people of Earth," said their leader through a machine that changed their words to English. "I am Prime Coordinator Veltar. Your kind makes us very curious." They went to a huge room with walls that glowed with soft light. The light moved in patterns like music made of color. Aliens from many different worlds watched from high platforms around the room. Some looked like giant bugs, others like walking rocks, and some like nothing humans had ever seen. The ceremony began with the exchange of gifts from each world. Everything seemed peaceful and friendly. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Alliance. They wanted to help Earth join the big galactic community of planets. Security Chief Dan Roberts was watching everything carefully. He was trained to spot danger. Something felt wrong, but he could not say what. The humans were surrounded by 50 aliens, but that was not what worried him. Something about how the aliens moved had changed. His soldier training told him to be ready. The attack came fast and without warning. The tall aliens moved quicker than seemed possible. Their thin arms were stronger than they looked. Weapons appeared from their bodies like they were part of them. What the humans thought was a peace ceremony was really a trap. "We're under attack," Roberts shouted. His body was already moving before his mind caught up. The human diplomats scattered as energy weapons fired. The air filled with the smell of burned metal and electricity. Something amazing happened to the human fighters in that moment. Roberts felt his heart beat so fast it should have killed him, but instead, he felt stronger than ever before. Time seemed to slow down and he could see everything clearly. Marine Sergeant Kevin Walsh was standing near the exit when he saw an energy bolt heading for Ambassador Carter. Without thinking, he jumped 15 feet across open space, moving faster than he had ever moved in his life. The energy hit his shoulder, but instead of stopping him, it just made him angrier. "Get the ambassador out of here," Walsh yelled. His voice was so intense that even the attacking aliens stopped for a moment. He grabbed a 7-foot-tall alien warrior by the throat and lifted it off the ground with just one hand. Dr. Amy Foster had never fought in a real battle before. She was pressed against a wall with alien warriors coming at her. But when she pulled out her weapon, her hands were perfectly steady. Every shot hit exactly where she aimed. Her body moved with smooth skill she never knew she had. The humans fought like nothing the aliens had ever seen. They took damage that should have stopped them and kept fighting. They moved with impossible speed and hit with incredible strength. Lieutenant Tony Kim took 3 energy blasts to the chest that went through his armor. The wounds should have dropped him, but he kept walking toward the enemy. His face showed no fear, only deadly focus. His eyes were wide and black, showing nothing but the will to fight. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, 12 humans had fought off 60 alien warriors. The humans had wounds that should have killed them, but they had hurt the aliens badly too. As the fighting ended, the humans began to feel normal again. Roberts fell against a wall, suddenly knowing that he had been fighting with 2 broken ribs and a hole in his lung. Walsh's shoulder wound was much worse than he had realized, but he had kept fighting for 15 minutes after getting hit. The aliens who were still alive stared at the humans with fear and wonder. In all their meetings with hundreds of alien species across the galaxy, they had never seen anything like what just happened. "What are you?" whispered Prime Coordinator Veltar. His translation machine was barely working. Captain Morrison had blood running down his face from a head wound. He helped Ambassador Carter stand up. "We're human," he said simply, "and you just made a very big mistake." The alien warriors looked at each other with confusion and terror. They had expected to easily defeat the small group of humans. Instead, they had learned that humans became more dangerous when threatened, not less. The 12 humans had fought like an army of super soldiers, taking terrible wounds and still fighting with incredible skill and strength. What the aliens did not know was that every human body naturally made powerful drugs when in danger. These chemicals made them stronger, faster, and able to ignore pain. It was something that had helped humans survive on their dangerous home planet for thousands of years. Now, for the first time, aliens had seen what happened when humans felt their lives were in danger. The result would change everything about how the galaxy saw the new species from Earth. 3 days after the fight on the alien ship, Dr. Kethamol got the most exciting job of his long career. The six-legged bug-like scientist had spent many years studying how different species made themselves stronger for battle. But the information from the human fight was unlike anything he had ever seen. The research station on Kepler Station was busy with scientists from 12 different alien worlds. They all came to study what had happened with the humans. They had collected blood samples from the battle and got permission to test a few humans who agreed to help. "These numbers must be wrong," said Dr. Silthara. She was made of living. Crystal and her people had perfected artificial battle drugs hundreds of years ago. No natural body can make this much enhancement chemical. Dr. Kethamol looked at the data again with his compound eyes that could see many different types of light at once. The human blood showed incredible amounts of chemicals that humans called adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine, and endorphins. But that was just the beginning. "Look at these brain activity patterns," he said, showing the data on a floating hologram. "When humans face danger, their brain chemistry changes completely. They become a different creature." The human volunteer was Marine Lieutenant Ryan Clark. He had agreed to help with the study after learning that understanding human fighting biology might prevent future wars. The scientists told him they would create fake battle situations to see how his body reacted. "Starting stress test now," announced Dr. Velnara, the station's mind expert. "Subject Clark, get ready for battle simulation." The room around Clark changed into a war zone. Fake enemies appeared, weapon fire exploded around him, and battle sounds filled the air. The scientist watched in amazement as his body readings began to spike. "Heart rate going up to 180 beats per minute," reported one technician. "No, wait, now 200. This should kill him." But Clark stayed conscious and became more alert. His pupils got bigger, his reaction time got much faster, and his muscles worked 40% better. Most amazing of all, he could barely feel pain while his ability to see danger expanded greatly. "He is processing what he sees and hears 3 times faster than normal," observed Dr. Kethamol. "And look at these endorphin levels. They are higher than what our best battle drugs can achieve." The fake battle got harder. Holographic enemies came from all directions, requiring split-second decisions and perfect movements. Clark responded smoothly, his body moving in ways that seemed impossible for humans. "His muscle fibers are working at maximum efficiency," reported the body monitoring team. "He is using strength that normally stays hidden. His blood is using oxygen better than our theories say is possible." But the most important discovery came when they studied Clark's blood at the peak of the simulation. The human body was not just making individual chemicals. It was creating a complex mix of enhancement drugs that would take the galaxy's best chemists years to develop. "This cannot be real," breathed Dr. Silthara. "My people need technology that fills an entire laboratory to make chemicals half this good. Humans are walking drug factories." Dr. Kethamol studied the brain data with growing amazement. "It is not just the chemical enhancement. Look at the neural pathway changes. Under stress, human brains rewire themselves for perfect combat performance. Pain processing shuts down, fear response stops, and pattern recognition becomes superhuman." The testing continued for hours. Each new scenario showed more capabilities. When faced with overwhelming odds, Clark's body somehow made even stronger chemical cocktails. When injured, his pain tolerance increased to match. When required to make rapid tactical decisions, his thinking speed went beyond what they could measure. "We need to test pain response," suggested Dr. Velnara. "Our combat studies show that pain management is crucial to sustained performance." They added controlled pain to the simulation. What they saw defied medical understanding. Not only did Clark feel less pain, but the pain seemed to trigger additional chemical releases that made his performance even better. "He is using pain as a performance enhancer," whispered one researcher. "The worse the injury, the more effective he becomes." When the simulation finally ended, Clark sat quietly as his body readings slowly returned to normal. The process took nearly 30 minutes. During this time, he remained in a state of super-awareness that would have been considered superhuman for any other species. "How do you feel?" asked Dr. Kethmol. Clark thought about the question carefully. "Normal. Maybe a little tired, but that is just the come-down. During the simulation, everything was crystal clear. I could see patterns, predict movements, react to threats I should not have been able to perceive. It felt like being upgraded." The research team looked at each other with concern. They had just witnessed a biological system that naturally did what their most advanced technology struggled to achieve artificially. "We need more data," declared Dr. Kethmol. "Contact the Alliance Council. They need to understand what we have discovered here." As news of the findings spread through the research station, one thing became clear. Humanity had a biological advantage that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The question was whether that advantage would make them valuable allies or dangerous enemies. The scientists continued their work, but each new test only confirmed what they had learned. Humans were not just another species seeking to join galactic civilization. They were potentially the most dangerous biological warfare system ever encountered. Their bodies naturally produced what other civilizations spent centuries trying to create in laboratories. What made it even more remarkable was that humans considered this normal. They had lived with these capabilities for so long that they did not even realize how unique they were. Every human carried within them the potential to become a living weapon when threatened. The implications would soon shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council happened on Nexus Prime, the massive space station that served as the political center of known civilization. Representatives of 47 species gathered in the circular meeting hall. Their different forms created a rainbow of galactic diversity. The humans sat in a special section, still newcomers to this ancient assembly. Council Administrator Zefka was a tall being with 4 arms and crystal skin. He called the meeting to order. "We meet to discuss the findings of the Alliance Science Directorate about the species known as humans." Dr. Kethmol stepped forward. His bug-like form moved with nervous energy. The information he was about to share would change everything. "Honored council members, our investigation has found something never seen before in our recorded history of galactic civilization." The holographic displays around the meeting hall lit up with complex chemical diagrams and combat performance data. Worried sounds rippled through the assembled delegates as they tried to understand the information. After extensive testing and analysis, we have confirmed that humans have a natural biological warfare system that is better than anything we have developed artificially. Under combat stress, their bodies automatically produce a complex mix of performance-enhancing compounds. Representative Mordun of the Hegemony Worlds raised a tentacled arm. "Dr. Kethmol, are you saying that humans are naturally equipped with what we would consider military-grade enhancement drugs?" "Not just equipped," Dr. Kethmol replied. "They are living factories for these compounds. Observe." The display showed comparison data from various species' combat enhancement programs. The Hegemony's artificial stimulants, the Alliance's cybernetic implants, the Federation's genetic modifications, all were surpassed by the natural human response. The compound humans call adrenaline alone provides strength enhancement equal to our Class 4 military stimulants. But that is just one part. They simultaneously produce noradrenaline for improved reaction time, dopamine for enhanced focus, and endorphins for pain suppression. The combined effect creates a combat enhancement system that we have never observed in nature. Ambassador Helen Carter rose from the human section. Council members, I believe there has been a misunderstanding about our species' nature. These biological responses evolved as survival mechanisms, not weapons of war. Council Administrator Zefka gestured for silence as concerned chittering and mechanical sounds filled the chamber. Ambassador Carter, the intent does not matter. The capability exists. Dr. Silthera, who had participated in the research, projected additional data. The implications go beyond simple enhancement. Human subjects demonstrated ability to function with injuries that would disable any known species. Pain, rather than hurting performance, actually triggers additional chemical releases that further enhance capabilities. A new voice interrupted the proceedings. This explains the Zephyrian incident. Representative Kolvar of the Military Assessment Board stepped forward. His scarred shell reflected the chamber's lights. 12 humans defeated 60 trained Zephyrian warriors. At the time we assumed superior technology or tactics. Now we understand. They were chemically enhanced super soldiers. Captain Jake Morrison, who had been quietly watching, asked permission to speak. Representative Kolvar, with respect, we were not enhanced. We were just afraid and fighting for our lives. Every human in that room experienced what we call a fight-or-flight response. It is completely natural for our species. Natural, repeated Dr. Kethmol, his compound eyes reflecting disbelief. You describe as natural a biological system that our most advanced civilizations can only approximate through extensive technological intervention. The chamber erupted in concerned discussions as representatives processed the implications. Ambassador Carter watched the reaction with growing worry, recognizing the fear in their alien expressions. Representative Theknor of the Trade Consortium spoke next. Dr. Kethmol, what are the upper limits of this human enhancement system? Unknown, the scientist admitted. Our testing was limited by ethical considerations. However, historical human records suggest that under extreme stress, the effects can be even more pronounced. They have documented cases of individuals performing feats that seem to violate physical laws, lifting objects many times their body weight, surviving injuries that should be fatal, fighting effectively with wounds that would disable military equipment. A holographic display showed historical human battle records, soldiers continuing to fight with multiple gunshot wounds, individuals lifting vehicles to save trapped people, warriors fighting effectively while missing limbs. The data painted a picture of a species whose combat capabilities increased with desperation. There is more, Dr. Kethmol continued. The enhancement system appears to be triggered not just by physical threat, but by protection of others. When humans perceive threats to their offspring, mates, or community members, the chemical release is even more dramatic. Representative Silthera of the Pacifist Coalition stood slowly. Council members, we face a species that becomes more dangerous the more threatened they feel. Their biology turns fear and pain into weapons. Ambassador Carter felt the mood in the chamber shifting toward hostility. Council members, humans, have used these same biological responses to protect the innocent, rescue the trapped, and defend the helpless. Our history shows that this capability has been used for both creation and destruction, like any tool. Tool, mused Council Administrator Zefka, but a tool that cannot be removed, regulated, or controlled. Every human carries the potential to become a living weapon under the right circumstances. Dr. Kethmol presented his final findings. Our analysis indicates that this enhancement system is universal among humans. Every individual of their species possesses this capability, though the intensity varies. Furthermore, their military, training, and conditioning appear designed to optimize and control these natural responses. The implications settled over the Council like a heavy blanket. Humanity was not just another species seeking membership in galactic civilization. They were potentially the most dangerous biological warfare system ever encountered. Representative Morden spoke what many were thinking. Council members, we must consider whether such a species can be safely integrated into our civilization, or whether they represent an existential threat that must be contained. As the session adjourned for deliberation, Ambassador Carter realized that humanity's greatest survival advantage might have just become their greatest liability. The very biology that had helped them survive on Earth might now determine whether they would survive among the stars. The news from the council meeting spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. In the weeks that followed, human diplomatic missions found themselves increasingly alone. Trade talks stopped, cultural exchanges were canceled, and several alliance members began quietly building up their border defenses. On the human colony world of New Geneva, Colonial Administrator Paul Mitchell received an encrypted message from Earth that made his blood run cold. The message was short but terrifying. Multiple Alliance fleets mobilizing, diplomatic channels compromised. Prepare for worst-case scenarios. Meanwhile, in the secret corridors of power on Hegemony Prime, a different conversation was taking place. General Vextar, Supreme Commander of Hegemony Forces, studied the human combat data with intense interest rather than fear. "Are you certain this enhancement system can be copied?" he asked Dr. Yilmoth, the Hegemony's chief biochemist. "The chemicals themselves, yes," the scientist replied. "But the delivery system is far more complex. Human biology produces these chemicals in precise amounts adjusted in real time based on threat assessment and physical condition. Artificial copying would require extensive cybernetic integration." Vextar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "What about genetic modification? Could we change our troops to have these capabilities?" "Theoretically possible, but extremely dangerous. Human genetics are remarkably stable for such enhancement production. Other species' biology might reject the modifications, or worse, produce toxic reactions." The general's interest was not academic. The hegemony had been locked in a Cold War with the Federation alliance for decades. Both sides sought any advantage that might tip the balance of power. The discovery of humanity's natural combat enhancement represented a potential game-changer. "Continue the research," Vextar ordered, "and begin discreet inquiries about human mercenary services." On Earth, President Linda Barnes called an emergency cabinet meeting in the secure chambers beneath Geneva. The assembled officials represented humanity's finest diplomatic and military minds, but even they seemed overwhelmed by the scope of the crisis. "The situation is getting worse rapidly," reported Secretary of State Robert Hall. "Our embassy on Zephyr Prime has been withdrawn for security concerns. The Trade Consortium has suspended all pending agreements. Most concerning, long-range sensors indicate significant fleet movements near our border systems." Defense Secretary Carol White spread tactical displays across the conference table. "Our military assessment is grim. We have 37 ships capable of interstellar combat. Intelligence suggests the Alliance can field over 2,000 vessels if they choose to act against us." "What are our options?" President Barnes asked. "Limited," Admiral Frank Cooper replied grimly. "We cannot fight the entire galaxy. Our only advantages are the natural defenses of the Sol system, and the combat capabilities we have just learned the galaxy fears." The irony was not lost on anyone present. Humanity's greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. Meanwhile, on the research station where the original human studies had taken place, Dr. Kethamol was conducting unauthorized experiments. Despite official orders to stop human research, his scientific curiosity had been ignited by a disturbing possibility. Working with a small team of trusted colleagues, he had obtained tissue samples from various species and was attempting to create human-type enhancement compounds. The preliminary results were troubling. "Doctor," his assistant Dr. Velroma reported, "the Zephyrian test subjects have shown severe toxic reactions to synthesized human adrenaline. 3 subjects experienced fatal cardiac episodes. And the hegemony physiology tests? Muscle tissue samples disintegrated when exposed to human-level noradrenaline concentrations. Their biology simply cannot withstand these compounds." Dr. Kethamol studied the data with growing unease. Not only were humans naturally equipped with powerful combat enhancement, but their biology was so unique that other species could not even survive exposure to artificial versions of human stress chemicals. "We are not just dealing with superior enhancement," he realized. "We are dealing with a completely different evolutionary path. Humans did not just develop better combat drugs. They developed a biological system that is toxic to other life forms. This discovery would never see official publication. Dr. Kethmal understood that knowledge of humanity's biochemical incompatibility with other species would only increase galactic fears. Back on New Geneva, Colonial Administrator Mitchell watched the horizon with growing concern. Long-range sensors had detected ships entering the system, not human vessels. The colony's small defense force was already at maximum alert, but against a full military intervention, they would last perhaps minutes. "Sir," called communications, Officer Beth Taylor, "we are receiving a transmission from the approaching fleet." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the multifaceted features of a Zephyrian commander. "Human settlement, you will prepare for immediate inspection and compliance assessment. Resistance will be met with appropriate force." Mitchell felt his heart rate beginning to accelerate. The familiar tension of impending conflict triggering responses his species had carried for millions of years. Around him, the colony's security personnel were showing similar signs. Dilated pupils, heightened alertness, the subtle chemical preparation for battle. "Understood," Mitchell replied carefully. "We will comply with your inspection. But I should warn you that forcing a confrontation with civilians will not end well for anyone involved." The Zephyrian commander's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "Are you threatening us, human?" "No," Mitchell said quietly. "I am trying to save lives. You have read the reports about what happens when humans feel threatened. Every person in this colony is experiencing that right now." For a moment, the transmission remained silent. The Zephyrian was clearly considering the implications of cornering a population of beings whose biology turned fear into a weapon. "You have 1 hour to prepare for inspection," the commander finally said. "Any sign of resistance will be met with overwhelming force." As the transmission ended, Mitchell looked around at his people. He could see the change happening in all of them. The stress was triggering their natural enhancement systems. Their pupils were dilating. Their breathing was becoming controlled. Their movements more precise. The standoff at New Geneva would become the first test of whether humans and the galaxy could coexist, or whether fear would drive them toward a conflict that could reshape galactic civilization forever. As both sides prepared for potential violence, neither fully understood that they were standing at the edge of a war where humanity's greatest weakness, their small numbers, would clash against their greatest strength, their inability to surrender when threatened. The standoff at New Geneva lasted 18 hours. During that time, diplomatic channels across the galaxy burned with urgent communications as leaders struggled to prevent a disaster that could destroy centuries of peaceful cooperation. President Barnes worked through the night from the crisis center in Geneva, coordinating with every ally humanity still had, while military advisors prepared for the worst. The irony was clear. Humanity's peaceful intentions were being undermined by their biological capacity for violence. "Madam President," reported Communications Director Steve Parker, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Nexus Prime." Holographic display revealed Council Administrator Zefka, his crystal features reflecting unusual urgency. "President Barnes, we have little time. Several Alliance members are demanding immediate military action against your species. However, a coalition of moderate voices is requesting one final diplomatic solution." "What kind of solution?" Barnes asked. "A demonstration. We propose a controlled scenario where human volunteers can show that your enhancement capabilities can be used constructively rather than destructively. If successful, it may convince the Council that coexistence is possible." Barnes considered the proposal carefully. "What kind of demonstration?" "The mining disaster on Kepler 7, Zefka explained. 17 workers trapped in collapsed tunnels. All major rescue attempts have failed. The conditions are too dangerous for conventional equipment, and the structural instability prevents robotic intervention. We estimate the trapped workers have perhaps 6 hours of air remaining." The implication was clear. If humans could use their enhanced capabilities to save lives rather than take them, it might change galactic perception of their species. "We will do it," Barnes decided. "But I want guarantees that our rescue team will not be fired upon or interfered with." You have my word, Zefka replied. This may be our last chance to prevent a war. Within 2 hours, a hastily assembled human rescue team was aboard a fast courier ship heading for Kepler-7. The team included experienced miners, medical personnel, and structural engineers, led by rescue specialist Captain Emma Davis. As they approached the disaster site, Davis addressed her team. People, we all know what is at stake here. This is not just about saving 17 lives, though that is reason enough. This is about proving that humanity deserves a place among the stars. The mining complex on Kepler-7 was a testament to galactic engineering, with tunnels extending deep into the planet's mineral-rich crust. The collapse had been triggered by an unexpected earthquake, trapping a mixed crew of Alliance species in chambers that conventional rescue equipment could not reach. The situation is impossible, explained Chief Engineer Rolvek, a stout rock-like being from the Granite Collective. The main tunnel has collapsed in 3 places. Any attempt to excavate triggers further collapse. Remote equipment lacks the precision needed to navigate the debris field. Captain Davis studied the 3-dimensional maps of the disaster site, her mind already processing tactical options with the enhanced clarity that stress brought to human thinking. What about these service tunnels? Too narrow for our rescue equipment, Rolvek replied, and the structural damage has made them extremely unstable. One wrong move could bring down the entire section. But a person could fit through them? Theoretically, but the toxic gas concentrations would be fatal within minutes, and the physical stress of navigating that route would be impossible for any known species. Davis felt her heart rate beginning to elevate as she contemplated the challenge ahead. Around her, the other team members were showing similar physiological responses. The familiar chemical cascade was beginning, but this time it would be used to save lives rather than take them. "We are going in," she announced. The descent into the collapsed mine was unlike anything the watching alien observers had ever witnessed. The human rescue team moved through passages that should have been impassable, their enhanced strength allowing them to shift debris that had defeated mechanical equipment. Their improved pain tolerance let them ignore cuts and bruises that would have stopped other species. Dr. Martinez, the team's medical officer, crawled through a tunnel barely wider than his shoulders, following instrument readings toward the trapped workers. The toxic gases that filled the passage would have been fatal to most species, but his enhanced metabolism processed the toxins efficiently enough to allow continued function. "I have got them," he reported through his comm system. 17. Workers, mixed species, all alive but in critical condition. The methane buildup is severe. We need to extract them now. The rescue that followed would become legendary in galactic history. Human team members squeezed through impossibly tight spaces, lifted debris that should have required heavy machinery, and worked for hours in conditions that would have killed ordinary rescue workers. Captain Davis herself made 4 trips through the most dangerous section, carrying injured workers one at a time to safety. On her final trip, structural sensors indicated imminent collapse, but she refused to abandon the last survivor. "Davis, get out of there," shouted her team coordinator. "The whole section is coming down." "Negative," she replied, her voice steady, despite the chemical storm raging through her system. "I have got him. 30 more seconds." Those 30 seconds stretched into eternity as she half-carried, half-dragged the injured Zephyrian worker through passages that were disintegrating around them. Her enhanced perception allowed her to predict and avoid falling debris that conventional reflexes could not have handled. When she finally emerged with the last survivor, the tunnel collapsed completely behind them. The aftermath of the Kepler-7 rescue resonated throughout the galaxy. The same biological systems that had terrified the Galactic Council had just saved 17 lives in conditions that would have defeated any other rescue attempt. 3 days later, the Council reconvened for a final vote on humanity's status. The chamber buzzed with intense discussion as representatives debated the implications of what they had witnessed. "The humans have demonstrated that their enhancement capabilities can serve constructive purposes," observed Representative Zelthera of the Pacifist Coalition. "Perhaps we have been too quick to assume the worst." Council Administrator Zefka called for order. "The question before us remains unchanged. Can humanity be safely integrated into galactic civilization? Ambassador Carter stood to address the council one final time. Honored representatives, our species has shown you both sides of our nature. We are capable of great violence when threatened, but also great sacrifice when others need help. We ask only for the chance to prove that our strength can serve peace rather than threaten it. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone had expected. 24 in favor of full membership, 20 in opposition, 3 abstentions. Humanity had won its place among the stars by the narrowest of margins. But the real test would come in the years ahead as they worked to build trust with species who would never quite forget that humans were living weapons who chose to be healers instead.